I'm sorry. I was looking at we have for some reason have 65 in the lobby. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, look, another thing that you have to mention because it had such a huge impact on that first game. If the Sonics are going to get the circle luck again today, like they've gotten in the past, this is going to be bad news. Now, gas cans clearly have figured out a way to work against that. Right, and they found a way to kind of make it to where they play their own game, they're doing their own thing, and they're also working those edges, still finding the kills and making it to the late game. But that's not always the case for gas cans. Them getting to late game with 4 up is actually pretty rare. They just do so well even when they have 3 or 2 up that we don't really ever notice.
Look, it costs you a player or two along the way to get those 12 to 15 mid-game kills. You know what I mean? But that being said, we were starting to see a lot more aggression from some teams toward the middle sections of the game. Even gas cans kind of picking up a lot more of their kills, yes, towards the later sections of the mid-game, but not being as prone to just like roll up on teams and take the fight. They still managed to walk away with a lot of kills inside that round. But do you think that's just kind of a symptom of the fact that we're looking at the last day of games, so nobody wants to be a little bit more, I guess, flagrant with their aggression?
To be honest, I think that was more of a symptom of the circle.
In that game.
As well. Gas cans, they, like we said, they are one of the teams in this lobby that are more inclined to go for that early fight and feel comfortable going for those early fights, those circle 1, circle 2 fights. But that being said, they're also not stupid. They're not just throwing it out there for the hell of it, right? So they knew that they were coming in late to this circle. They knew they had very little information about what was going on the edge that they were at. So therefore, we just kind of saw them hang out and we saw them take the initial quick fight against Veritas once they got that quick read. And that's another thing. Good on them for being able to get that really quick read on what was going on as far as Michael being the solo in that compound. So that's something that we got to give gas cans credit for, is their scouting is just so good and so quick.
On the other side of that, like you even brought it up, that circle that we were looking at tends to be where, hey, let's go ahead and make our way back down towards the south. I like it. It's not a super spicy circle, but it's not just a directed center circle. It's still got Picado inside of it. But what I was going back to is that you mentioned the fact, and we've seen notoriously, that Sonic sometimes struggle in those northeastern circles, but they managed to find themselves a great way in that last round. Let's see if they can do it again.
They did. I mean, I got to give huge props to them for changing up their typical approach on circles like that. Now, they did get fortunate with the Circle 2 hard shift up to the north. If that's saying hard shifts to the south, they're all of a sudden playing from edge. And, recently we've been seeing Sonics have a much better time making it to late game, surviving until late game, playing with 4 up, and then going for the fights in Circle 6 to really kind of popping off on average later, getting their kills later in the game. But most of that has had to do with them getting inside the circle, getting good circle shifts going to their direction, and playing from a position of power. Whereas you look at a team like Gas Cans, or you look at even STK or Oath, they're coming in later, they're playing from the edge. They may not get the circle, but they're fine with that. They're used to that. So, it's playing to the strength of Sonics right now. And now if these circles keep going in the way that they are, we'll have to see if we see a snowball going for Sonics. But the fact that they had to win that 1v2 or that 4v4 fight, well, I guess 5v4 fight, if you want to be real about it, with Gas Cans in game 1, definitely has to have them a little bit shook.
Yeah, I'm still curious on what prompted Top Dog to make that angle. I'm gonna have to message him afterwards, because that one's just gonna drive me insane the longer that one goes through.
Well, I mean, Sonics just weren't showing. He was expecting somebody to go for the low wrap, which honestly I would have too, and nobody from Sonics ever did it. And he had that cover right there that would have made it perfect for him to get in that, to engage in a fight there and safely for if somebody from Sonics decided to go low. But they just never did, and they did that because they knew he was down there. So it was really smart. It put Sonic, it reduced the amount of options for Sonic to be able to engage in that fight with Gas Cans, which sucked. But at the end of the day, it ended up paying off huge for him.
The last round is great whenever we're talking about the same last round in phase 1 right now, but it's a little bit quieter of a first circle, guys, so we're still riding on all the hype of that last one. That being said,
I can say this. If you want to talk about this circle, recently we've seen a lot of circles like this go right on top of Los Leones, and maybe just to the south of Los Leones. We saw one yesterday.
Yeah.
So well, it'll be interesting to see if we're still getting things in clumps as far as
Well,
circles go.
I'm praying to the circle gods right
Yeah.
now to give us an urban Los Leones ending.
Oh my
just
God!
cause.
Please no.
Come on, think about the poeticness of
Think
having.
about the FPS.
I know,
Got
but
50 smokes down as people are trying
why
to run
you
around
always
in
gotta
this-
ruin my fun, Poro? I like the mean circles. Stop
Because
taking them away from me with your logic.
Because your fun sucks. I don't
My
know.
fun is amazing.
Okay, fair enough. It is kind of entertaining because I mean it ends up coming down to these crazy street crossings, which kind of throws me back to the old like Bad Company 2 days and Battlefield 3 days where you're fighting inside the cities or whatever, and you're trying to get across the street when you know everybody's looking over in your direction. I don't know. It's a little bit of a throwback with the urban endings in PUBG, but it's definitely interesting. But I know these guys hate it.
So just to give you guys a heads up on the macro positioning that's coming to play, everybody's kind of hanging out in the suburban life of Los Leones right now and kind of stretched back over next to Chumacera. Other than that, we still have Gas Cans, ATC, Fabled, and Illusion. They're the only teams that are not yet inside the safe zone. And let's be honest, not pretty centered up around Los Leones right now.
Shrimzy's on foot right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
really
there he is.
Close
He's,
positioning.
He does,
He
does have a vehicle. This is a little sketchy.
And well, it looks like Veritas realized he's by himself. They're making a play back down towards that angle. Shrimzy does look like he's going to get away from it, but man, Veritas wanted that really bad. And let's be clear, he's not 100% away yet. He still has to cross this open area, and it looks like D-Treats has a feeling that that's going to be the way he paths through, but instead, just going to be happy that they got this compound and just going to let him go on his merry way. There's not a lot of other teams that can really harass except for maybe Rumblers, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a quick regroup coming out from everybody on Soniqs. Rumblers do have a position they can play back over towards, but Shoot to Kill playing back on the other side of Los Leones right now, running a 2-2 split back over towards the north and the southeastern positions around Los Leones. Getting a little bit more information as they do spot Zenith driving up the hillside, but really have control over everything to the east of this point. Everybody is still playing on the other side of Los Leones at the time.
Yeah, it was good on Tig and H-Win there to take a few shots over in the direction of Veritas, at least, just to force them to pull back down so that they couldn't just afford to all peek that ridge line and take shots at Shrimzy. Meanwhile, Oath in a 2-2 just off to the north of Los Leones. They have taken a few shots from Comets. Comets typically hold that tall building on the very western edge of Los Leones for as long as they can. SDK also moving in on the western side of Los Leones. Haven't tried to go for center, really. They're look like they're more taking up territory towards the end, and I think this has to do a lot with the fact that we've seen so many circles go over to the east in this situation recently. So I think SDK maybe playing their odds here.
Well, okay, let's look at the overall leaderboard whenever we're at it right now. Naturally, there's a 19-point lead that Soniqs have over the Gas Cans, and then back behind that, it's 14 points, I believe, for Oath back behind them. We only have 4 games that we're looking at today. First one's already done. This could be a trend-setting round right now. If Soniqs have a little bit of troubles, go down early, that could open up the doors for Gas Cans. But if Soniqs have a big win, that means it might just turn into a 2-horse race for second between Gas Cans and Oath. There's a lot of momentum to be had inside of this round, specifically for our top teams. Every single one of them is aching to have a phenomenal round to really either try to catch up against Soniqs, or Oath trying to catch up to Gas Cans, or Soniqs just trying to cement and get back that big lead that they had beforehand. So there are a lot of stakes into this because, yes, momentum is a factor inside of this game. If you can build up the points to get a little bit more of a lead, it gives you more comfort and ability to take the fights that you may opt away from whenever things are closer in the leaderboard.
Well, speaking of Gas Cans, they're running into a little bit of a trouble here on the south side of this circle. A lot of teams actually all kind of right on top of each other. You got Hardships, T8, Dodge, Gas, all kind of crossing in the middle of each other. It looks like everybody's going to get away for the time being, but definitely some close calls there. Oldless is taken extremely low. I think he was just trying to provide a little bit of support for the rest of the team. But to your point, another thing to consider, Gas Cans yesterday were terrible on Miramar. They got 5 points total in 2 games.
True.
And Erangel was really where they started popping off. So, we did see some kind of weird circles, but we've also, that's a military looting team, Matt, and we've seen a lot of melee circles lately. So it would not be too surprising to see it go their way. Meanwhile,
speaking of things going people's way, look, Poro, let's make our way towards Los Leones. Condensed back down a little bit more. But you can see all the players had an idea on how the circle was going to shift through. Really, it's just our outlier teams. Gas cans do have themselves a little bit of position, but one player not inside the safe zone. Hard shifts and Illusion going to be the ones that are going to have to be making some type of rotation and might be facing a little bit of troubles depending on how they're opting into moving into the zone.
Let's see. Kind of interesting to see SDK actually give up that high ground off to the east and instead elect.
I think it's because nobody was over there. Everybody just left the eastern corridor, so why not? I don't know.
It still always weirds me out to see a team with 4 up go into the middle of the city on purpose. Like, I don't know why. Maybe we've gotten better. The frames have gone up. Performance has gotten better when you're playing inside the city, so that might have a lot to do with it. We'll see. But everybody already pretty much inside the circle now. It's just a question of finding where you want to play from this point out. It looks like Fabled also going to send it inside the city. Oath, Soniqs, they're holding down where they were already at. Veritas, ATC also. Rumblers doing a little bit of a move, but they've had this well scouted out, so I got to imagine they know that this is free and clear.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a little bit of a recentering that's going on right now. I always get nervous whenever I see teams take this little bit of a dip because, sure, there's some space right now, but it's got control. But the later the game goes, and if you're still playing this dip, it tends to not ever go well. It's almost just like a grenade cone. It just magically pulls every grenade around it right on top of your team. But, I mean, there's just not a lot of options. Unless you're just going to be brazen, like shoot to kill and run right into Los Leones. There's just a lot of flat areas. I mean, that's why you see specifically back over towards the south, a lot of these teams are really just starting to cluster up a little bit more because it does provide a little bit easier of rotation points. But, this could be telling for what could happen inside the round. Gas cans rolling right up into the position of 2 of the members for Soniqs. So we do have right now a 2-2 position, but the other members for Gas cans coming up back behind him. Voxic does go down to a grenade coming out from Mime, but you can see slowly being patient off of it. Reinforcements on the backside for Soniqs. Got to be careful now. Mime getting a little bit more aggressive back forward positioning. That Molotov is going to connect and take down and flush out Voxic. Soniqs now know this could be an opportunity for them to take down the team that's kind of haunting them right back behind them on the leaderboard. Honey Badger playing back down in this ridge position, not going to spot out Mime as he steps back away from long-range shots that are being thrown their direction. So having to be very, very careful off this one. Mime also starting to get a little bit more hesitant, as I believe it's going to be Veritas that's taking shots from the backside of this fight.
That's exactly who it is. And actually, Veritas are going to take this opportunity to backfill the position that Soniqs just left. So now Veritas in a good position to maybe do a little third partying onto this as Gas Cans looks like they're going to keep repositioning. Oldless working over the top with Honey Badger. Nikos will hold down the low ground. He's going to listen for any sounds that he can speak. H1 will get taken low. Oldless will have to pull back, though, because Michael Veritas just being that annoying little critter in their ear right now.
To be very careful. They do have some distance away from Rumblers, and just due to the way that the training works, while they are kind of close, they don't have a good firing line into this fight.
Oh my God, this
circle is going to shift back over, and yes, Poro, my prophecy and my prayers are coming true.
This is all your fault.
I love it. All right, let's see everybody hop in their vehicles, make a push back over to Los Leones in just 1 second. Shoot to kill going for positioning early could be huge, as we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown happen with this Soniqs gas can fight. Both of them knowing the fact that they want to take it, but you can see Gas Cans being a little bit more hesitant, knowing the fact that they don't have the numbers and the fact that they can reposition around and maybe gatekeep Soniqs from position instead.
There you go. That's what I was going to say, is that they've managed to save Private Nikos, and now they're in a perfect position to do a little gatekeeping. The last bullet from Badger will find Tig, but H-Win trying to make a run up the hill here. I think Gas Cans might be able to hear his footsteps. They do. They're going to be in time, though. H-Win will get the work done. Can he trade 2? Yes, he can. The captain is in full effect here, saving his team while Honey Badger continues to throw the throwables down there and see if he can flush out Tickleton. Not going to find anything yet, and now Mime is going to replace H-Win, and here comes the push.
Veritas has already shifted out of position. This is just a straight-up fight between these two different squads. Honey Badger trying to hold the line, gets a good connection back over, takes down H-Win, gets the flush onto one of them, gets Shrimsy extremely low as well, takes a peek back over towards it, gets one on Tickleton, but does go down. A lot of damage has been dealt back over towards Soniqs. Going to be a quick res coming back over towards Shrimsy. H1 now down and rolling down the hillside, trying to get these reses back up. They have to get Tiggleton quite quickly, but they're going to be one of the last teams to make a push back over towards Los Leones. And let's be honest, if you can look at the map and the situation on what's going on inside of Los Leones, it is a mess. We can see that Shoot to Kill and Comets already skirmishing off of position, and Zenith looks like they might have the capability of third party at range.
I'm actually in malding right now. Where the hell is Veritas? How do they not realize that Soniqs is all down here and all knocked? Why have they not made their way over to third party onto that? That's free kills that they just basically said we don't want, we don't need them, whatever. And now, okay, we're back into Comets and STK. I'm sorry, I was driving in, that drove me insane. I don't understand it.
Veritas had moved a little bit earlier inside of this. I like how Shoot Skill's like, where did he go? He just kind of pop it up a little deadly jack the box back over into that corner. Got to be a little bit more careful with that, but we are also going to see the illusion come up back behind them, and we know the fact that they can cause a lot of trouble in some of these fights. With the way that Shoot to Kill was positioned, they're having a little bit of trouble regrouping entirely at the time, but quick pickup for a couple of kills back over towards the Rumblers, setting them back over towards 3, and should be able to get the res over towards Waldo. Really, the only team that Rumblers have to be super cautious of is going to be that late rotating Soniqs that could have an angle to work with, but it's just continued harassment back towards the due center or downtown of Los Leones right now, as people are getting vision and taking pot shots at each other and getting downs, but really not having the capability to close in and just kind of get the flushes onto it. But that does mean armor, helmets, starting to take a little bit of damage.
It looks like Comets and STK have traded 2 and 2 from their compound position, so we'll see where they go. Meanwhile, Soniqs, after Veritas so kindly allowed them to live for no freaking reason, are now making it inside the circle with 3 up, and they can play from the edge fairly safely here. Not really much going on around them. Rumblers about the closest thing, and they're inside the warehouse. Everybody else really just kind of working the edges of Los Leones on this ridge line. You see Oath, Dodge, T8, Hardshifts all kind of working that ridge here. Veritas to the north, ATC as well, as we kind of see how the map's going to set up here.
Well, 2 things to note. Right now, Rumblers and Oath have very strong positions for this circle, because while I do love urban endings, let's be real, usually we see it kind of stretch out of those points. So most likely, we're going to see maybe favor back over towards that southwestern area, which is going to be where Rumblers' warehouse and Oath's positioning right along that ridgeline could be quite strong. With the urban fights itself, you can see that Shoot to Kill in a little bit of trouble right now. They're surrounded on multiple fronts, as Zenith is just kind of taking the ground approach, and what is very deadly. Whenever you're trying to make your way through this position, we've all had it happen before, you just feel like you're getting shot from every single window. But whenever you look at the competitive side, a lot of people try to keep an eye on what's happening directly at their building and try to stop encroachment in and of itself. So you can see that Zenith trying to kind of capitalize off that, use very long corridors, specifically these buildings themselves, to try to navigate through where people might be trying to take shots at them, and instead moving through big sections of Los Leones without having to worry about firefights.
There's an interesting situation breaking on the south side here, as Duel finally made their push in, but they do it at the same time as Hardshifts, and you can see T8 already there. Zealot and Lush in a pretty good position to spot these guys out. Hardshifts, I think, have lost one, lost Lobes. I think they've lost 2 now, Lobes and Chubba, as they just hide out for the time being. Meanwhile, Duel on the other side of the street, they haven't got a nice little wall to work with. They should be fine.
At this point, we're going to have to start calling him Jay Clutch. He feels like he's one of the last members up for Hardshifts every single time right now, but he does have a little bit of company back over there with Maluk. They are inside the safe zone.
Well.
But do it?
He's been doing so well. Jay Sang has improved dramatically over the course of this year, and this PCS3 Jay Sang is fantastic, and I'd love to see him performing at a high level again. Just a shame it wasn't enough to drag Hardshifts up a little bit higher.
I mean, Hardshifts do have a couple of opportunities inside of the positions that they're playing right now and can really pick up some kills depending on movement. Really, the aggression that we're seeing coming out from Duel could be quite favorable to them, because as long as they know how Duel's moving through and listen to the firefights, Duel can kind of become a protective shield for Hardshifts to try to flank back and behind up. But really, it's also coming down to how T8 moves. T8 is very split off of positioning, trying to make their way back over to kind of where Dodge is at. It looks like, look at the stretch of T8 members across the right side of the screen, going all the way back over towards that angle. They have a lot of control for positioning, really, but they're very stretched. So depending on how this circle goes, this could be a little bit problematic for specifically our teams back down towards the south.
Well, there go hard shifts as combination of Cherry and Zealot will finish that off. But yeah, no, hard shifts or Dodge tack. Oh my God, tack 8. You mentioned had this kind of a wide spread. It looks like they collapsed on that to try to finish off hard shifts, and maybe we'll see if they hold in here for duel. I think a lot of the reason they collapsed was more because of Dodge. Dodge had really good angles onto the rest of T8, but now that new circle popped, you can see they're already in trucks on the move, trying to find their way in because this thing cut hard to the west.
Who would have thought hard western shift comes into play, and repositioning coming out from T8, going to run right into Tiggleton, who's got a nice firing line to work with. Soniqs really got control back over towards the west. Remember, Rumbler's still holding down that warehouse, and Oath that are still going to have that ridge line, all in very powerful positions right now. The remnants that have been playing inside of downtown itself, or Los Leones, having a lot of trouble right now. As you can see, it's just quick exchanges back and forth. T8 knows that they've got a little bit of trouble ahead of them as Duel's trying to make their way up along this northern path to try to encroach into that area, but they have to be very careful. It's going to be Dodge, Zenith, Illusion, and maybe even Purdy Curdy from Shoot to Kill, choosing a path along that lines. Meanwhile, just to the north of that, it's going to be Comets, Fabled, and Oath that could be bumping into each other. So Duel having to just kind of jump their way through. But we can see that Fable's got a nice position that they're trying to play from at the time, very aware of where Comets are playing from, but do Comets have the firepower to double stack away from this position? Becomes the big question on how they're going to make their way through the zone. They are inside of safe zone. They just have to play this very cautiously based off of Fable's positioning.
You know what's going to happen, Matt?
What?
I'm calling it right now. It's end game, the last two teams, it's going to come down to Veritas and Soniqs.
Veritas and Soniqs, do you think so? I'm kind of feeling
I'm calling
that
it right now.
I'm kind of feeling that Oath's positioning and Rumbler's positioning is pretty strong.
No. Because Veritas let Soniqs live.
Oh, just because?
It's going to come down to Soniqs versus Veritas for the win, and Soniqs is going to win. I'm calling it right now. We'll see if it happens. I don't know. I believe you though. Oath has such a good position right now. We'll see how many kills they can pick up. This, like you said though, everybody flushing through the funnels here in the urban area makes it really kind of difficult to spot out. So, and just the fact that it's just 4 of Oath. So if they get one knocked here, it's going to be kind of rough.
This smoke wall is so good. Buys positioning that they needed to get through. Creates right along the side of this. We see this be very common. Just play along this western facing of Los Leones. Kind of playing along that ridge line. Make your way back along next to where Oath is at the time. Duel doesn't need to overextend from this point. They can hear the firefight and everything that's going on around them. And so instead, just kind of let your enemies fight amongst themselves and see if maybe you can find an opportunity to work with. ATC now coming back behind the Comets and Fabled fight that we were seeing just a second ago. Nobody really encroaching back over towards the direction where Oath is at. Do note, Oath is running a 2-1-1 split with all firing lines to cover each other. So that's why there is a big stall that's happening back over towards the east. It's just very hard to contend with the angles. Meanwhile, right on the other side, as you can see from Oath, it's just super comfortable from positioning. So now, here's the problem for Oath. They are separated out, but look at how many teams are about to be vying for their position.
You know, it's not just Oath either. It's Dodge on this southern part. They're holding this high angle as well. So it's a number of teams that are just kind of trying to cope with these lines of sight from Dodge and Oath. Fabled still managing to keep a few up. ATC now having to make their way in. Zenith, Duel, even our last remaining player for SDK, Kurt, will have to try to find some way to get in this. But new circle looking really nice for Rumblers, looking great for Soniqs as they can just kind of hang out on the southwest and not have to worry about much of anything.
I do want to point out Pat Cap's positioning on the mini-map right now. Look at how aggressively he has repositioned back around where Dodge is at. Stragglers now getting picked up everywhere as there are still 8 teams, 26 alive, but don't be surprised if we're going to see that drop off dramatically here in the next couple of seconds. Really, it's about Duel's positioning and how they're going to opt to move forward. You can see Dodge still playing off the high ground point, looking back down. They have multiple angles and repositions that they can go through. It's about how Duel chooses to play this angle. The way that they can try to move through this, you can see that Lynxie's kind of being a little bit of a distraction while the other two members are moving in closer, and Cherry does connect with a grenade. That could be absolutely huge. Now going to try to see if we can get it maybe with a connection Molotov. That might be good. I can't quite tell. Yeah, he's caught on fire. That's going to be Adam going down. A beautiful toss coming out from them. So now Duel in a much better position than they were just a second ago, and Dodge now having to scramble down, make their way down the hill, or down there, the stairs to make sure that they can really stop Duel's approach.
The raid boss himself with a great throwables here, although he's going to take a lot of damage as he tries to make his way through. Finna and Dodge not Oh no! Did he shoot his own failure in the back of the head? I'm not sure if Penta took some damage there, but Finna will get credit for the knock. The flashes come through. Is this going to be the push from Dodge or just a reposition? Looks like they're just holding down for the time being. But you do have windows.
Linksy!
Oh, Linksy, no! Finna just destroys him, but Cherry will come up over the top and he'll get the down. Will they flush out the kill? It doesn't look like. Oh, Finna. What a hold from Finna and Dodge as Cherry and the rest of Duel go down in 8th place.
Big plays coming out from both of those teams. It's going to be Dodge surviving with just one member. Meanwhile, any trolls in chat has been kind of listening to what's going on towards the north of their position. That's going to be Fable that's trying to make a play. Do note, there is still the 2-1-1 split coming from Oath just to really get control over everything that's happening back over towards the east. There's remnants of teams that are still just playing back over towards that eastern area, and that's allowing all of the distraction. Soniqs can capitalize off of that. You can see that they keep moving into new, stronger positions to try to find some type of angle, and there we go. Shifts back over towards the north. Maybe Prophecy Poro could come up big as it's going to be Veritas and Rumblers in a great spot.
Well, Rumblers don't have much to do right now, but Oath is this is going to be interesting time for Oath. We'll see how many they can keep alive while trying to come down that hill, because it is going to be I don't know what they do here. Soniqs, Rumblers, Veritas all have vision on this big slope coming down out of the spot where Oath already is. But, we'll see if maybe Oath is just in a position to try to get as many kills as they can here. Only 2 so far.
I mean, this is an interesting setup for Oath. They have the control, they have firing lines, but if one member, specifically Balefrost or Patcaps, goes down, they are unresable. Really, it's only just set up with the other 2 that are stacked on top of each other, and there's going to be a funnel of teams that are trying to work around this position. Do note, Soniqs are also going to have to make their way forward. Patcap's positioning, where he did separate out, does not get rewarded with positioning. So the longer that Pat stays here, we're going to see the fact that maybe he repositions to buy some space for it. Oath now knows they're in a bad spot, trying to get as much damage out as they can. Snakers does connect onto that to finally eliminate out Dodge. But the problem is going to be ATC and Fabled, and oddly enough, they're starting to contest with each other. This is going to work out beautifully for Oath. As you can see now, ATC trying to make their way back along this low point position. Oath is going to have a little bit of tools to work with from this, and now also know exactly where Fabled are going to be at. Beautiful toss is going to connect, get a little bit of damage off, and everybody that's peeking back over Snaker's direction is taking a ton of damage off of it. Another beautiful Molotov throw to come through there. It looks like we're going to get a quick Viking funeral coming out for Rip. Greg Shot's in a lot of trouble now as well, and this is the strength. While if you can see a member of Oath were to go down, it'd be problematic, but they can cover each other from so many angles. It's so hard and oppressive for any of these other teams to try to reposition.
Greg Shot just going to die to the blue there. There's not really much else he can do. Gila and Norcus will make it inside the compound, but they'll most likely just kind of play the audio cues for the time being. It looks like the rest of Oath is going to group together. Snakers, Bale, and Reload, the guys that are up on the high ground at least, are going to try to see if they can maybe finish off ATC before they have to worry about trying to make their way down the hill here.
ATC slowly making their way through. Norcus taking a ton of damage from the blue zone, and as you're making the approach back over towards Oath, that's going to be problematic. Norcus does go down to the blue zone itself. Balefrost feels like he has a great read on what's coming through. Quick Spray is going to go ahead and connect, and there we go. Back over towards the east. It is calmed down, but the problem comes into play. The new circle has popped, and it's going to be Veritas and Rumblers that are still inside the zone. Oath are still going to need to make a little bit of a reposition back over towards the east, as well as Soniqs up towards the north. And really, all eyes now turn to the defensive fortifications of Veritas and Rumblers.
Who's gonna? I'm really interested to see how Oath decides to do this. What are they going to decide? I mean, basically, all you can do really send it now. Maybe they can try to go around to the north, or at least try to go around towards where Pat is.
Looks like they're just going to send it in a vehicle.
Yeah,
go off the cliff. Go off the cliff. Yeah.
There they go. They go off the cliff. I mean, there's nothing else really they can do. I mean, they had to go down, so they're going to try to heal up a little bit before they have to make this push. But they're going to eat some Bale.
I don't think that those meds were worth it. They're taking way more blue damage than they're medding.
That does more than tickle, doesn't it? But they will manage to get down in here. Oh, Relo will get spotted out by D-Treats. Can he get another one? Pat,
oh, no, Pat.
The truck, high points. They got 6 kills, but they managed to get to this wall, and that is absolutely huge.
All right, Rumblers, what do you got for your defensive line? Veritas does see everything that's going on, starting to make approach back over there. Beautiful Molotov does land back over towards Pat Caps as well. A lot of damage going to come back over his direction. He's going to go down. Then there were two still up and active for Oath, looking back and forth between the hellfire that is raining down upon them, trying to see if they can find some way to get something out of this. But it's going to be Veritas that's looking up to pick up the remnants of Oath based off of positioning. Rumblers are just holding the defensive wall right now, and it's all work coming out from Veritas. Snakers is trying to figure out what he's going to do. He's going to have a couple of flashes thrown back over towards him, but it's a double up firing line coming out from Oath, and Veritas starts to realize, okay, maybe this might be a little bit too aggressive as McCoy continues to watch that outer wall to see if anybody's going to be coming through that doorway.
To pull off of that for the time being. I mean, Soniqs, I think, was also taking some shots into Veritas right there, but Snakers and Balefrost, they're on the very edge of this building. Let's see how long they can stay alive. They managed to heal up a little bit as we push into Phase 9. This is tough stuff, tough sledding. Rumblers, I gotta feel, have a really good shot at this one.
Well, here's the thing. Soniqs used all this
right
distraction to reposition right in the middle of the circle. Veritas was caught up looking at Oath. Rumblers was caught up looking at Oath. So now Soniqs has a beautiful defensive setup. They are sitting with a hefty lead over Gas Cans, who went down early. Oath down to 2 members. They know that they need a big game, but the numbers and position are not in their favor. Big Shot's going to go ahead and connect from Tiggleton that take down the other side of the Rumblers. Now just one, and it's going to be Gaxi, who now knows he has to walk right in between Soniqs and Oath. The whole time this is going on, Veritas is trying to reposition. Snakers does find the angle back over towards Keenan, does get him down, buying a little bit more space to work with. You can see that Veritas doesn't have a lot of good cover and are going to have to walk through the open soon, and Snakers is trying to capitalize off of that.
I think Jazz can actually get this res onto Keenan, bring back Veritas up to 3 strong here as they try to push in. Good smoke cloud laid down. The Soniqs still haven't been sending shots over in Veritas' direction. Looks like they're more concerned with taking care of the last member of Rumblers and seeing if they can find an angle onto Oath here. But they've got fantastic cover, fantastic position. Tig, the most aggressive one here, trying to go out there and see what he can find on the edge.
Oh, Tig playing inside the smokes, spots out a little bit of information, be it through his ears or through just a shoulder popping through the smoke. Yaxie knows that he's in trouble and finally gonna go down. Soniqs taking more and more of a stranglehold towards this in circle as everybody is just being clustered and slowly herded back over towards each other. It's going to be Veritas Keenan starting to lead the way back over towards the Soniqs. Maybe this could be the distraction that Oath can use to try to capitalize off of. Snakers goes down from an outside angle, and it is quick annihilation back over towards Oath. Veritas, Soniqs lined up, and it's going to be the Prophet Poro trying to make a play off of this one. He's got the knowledge. Shrimsy trying to spot it out, goes down, and now it is just in the hands of Tiggleton himself. Looking back over towards Veritas, spots out one, doing a dance around the car, seeing if maybe he can spot an angle. Seeing if maybe he can get one more point to play off of, but it is a 1v1 position. Tiggleton walks away with it, 11 kills, and that is going to do a ton of work for their lead.